Hello everybody, my name is Ronald and we're now making a new episode of How to Play Dungeon Universalis. Today we are see how melee combat works in Dungeon Universalis. Finally, after having the common and general combat rules in the last videos, we had already initiative and caught by surprise, cover and line of sight, and now we are going into the real fight. We'll see how melee works, and we will have a dedicated video for ranged attacks, and we will have a video about magic attacks. But this time it's about melee, and let's see how that works. It's from the rules, nothing new. We will make tests with those 2d6 dices, and let's start with it. We have our well-known warrior Croxer wearing a broadsword, not like this miniature has a battle axe, but we pretend he has a broadsword. We have this barbarian female warrior, not the red-headed I was using before, but this time it's time for something new. So she's equipped with an axe. We have a look at the cards in a few minutes. But now, just for the beginning, the very easy combat system in melee is each combatant has to roll his or her two dice, and the higher value wins. As every time in Dungeon Universalis, we are adding the attributes to the roll, and so let's have a look. We have Croxer, he has a 4 in combat, melee combat. This is ranged combat, this is melee. And the warrior, she has a 3. Let's ignore the parts after the dash. Or slash, it's a slash. Let's have a look at the first values. She has 3, so Croxer is an advantage a little bit. But let's see what comes now. So we will make a roll for her. It's a nice one. Let's make a roll for him. Great. We have a time. Okay. They should stand together to make a melee combat. This is important because you have to stand adjacent to each other. Except we are talking about long-ranged melee combat. We have a look later. I think I'll make a dedicated short video about it, because there are some filthy rules. But for the moment, let's say melee combat is always between adjacent combatants. So this will work too. Alright. The light dice, the white ones, are for the heroes. The dark ones are for the dark players' characters. So let's see again. Both have rolled a 7. Croxer will add a 4 to his result, so he has an 11. And the warrior will add a 3 to her value of 7. So Croxer is winning with 11 to 10. I'm sorry. So this was easy. Croxer has 1. And now what happens now? Now we're going to roll for the damage, but we won't do this in this video, just because, and not just because it's a dedicated chapter in the rulebook. There's a good reason why there's a dedicated chapter in the rulebook, because depending less of you're attacking by melee or by ranged or by magic, the outcome is always the same. You roll the same dice for damage. And there are always the same rules for the damage. So we have a look at the combat types, and then we see how the damage will work. So it will be applied to all of these combat types. And I don't want to talk about the same damage rules over and over again. And I guess that's the reason why Ludic Dragon did this in a separate chapter too. All right. So we will ignore the damage for the moment. Let's see. Important is even Croxer won't do any damage to her because he will roll 2 less dice. We have a look at later in the other video. But he has won the combat and the combat roll. And this means he made a successful hit to her. And this is important because it isn't required to deal damage to make a successful hit, but he has won the combat, he has made the hit, and now he can do a very great feature of Dungeon Universalis. He can push her just because he had hit her. If the enemy character is the same height or smaller, the attacker may push them after hitting. So there are the rule is to push the enemy character back, and back means there are, as I showed you in the previous videos, there's always a back for a character. She's standing diagonally on her field, and so there are 3 squares in her back. While having this, or these are the front squares, these are the back ones, and Croxer now can decide where to push her. Here, 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 and let's say he pushes her up to here. Now her back is, whoops, sorry, her back is here, and now he can decide if he wants to take her previous position. So he can move up to her without that it's counted as movement. He doesn't have to have any movement points left, or he has already done his movement. Just by pushing her, he can decide to take the position of her. Both are totally optional features. You don't have to push the enemy, and you don't have to take the position after that. There are many situations where this is making a very big difference. If you want to do it, if you want to do not. It's very an easy decision in most cases. If there's a hurtful obstacle behind the enemy, let's say here's a pitfall, and now Croxer has made his attack, he won, and he's pushing her, and now she's falling into the pit, and she's taking falling damage. Maybe she's knocked down after that. That's a great benefit. Maybe he has just made 3 wounds by his attack. She would need another damage for to get knocked out, so in other words, to be killed, and maybe she will get that by falling down. And even if she isn't knocked out after falling into the pit, she's out of the way for the moment. This could also be a great help. Other example, if this wasn't the mighty Croxer fighting, but where's my wizard? Here's my wizard. Now they are melee. He's bound into the combat, so he's engaged, like I told you in the previous video about melee range. Now he or she or whatever can do any, cannot cast any spells, and this is bad for a wizard. And because he's in melee range, he can't do any action except melee attacks. And disengaging maybe could be a problem if he fails the roll to succeed the test. So just watch the previous video about it. I'm talking about a lot of that. And now let's say he is going to attack her. Whoops. And he has won the hit against her with her axe, whatever. He won, and he wants to push her. And now he is out of her melee range anymore, and now he can decide to step back or to drink maybe a heroic potion, what is in quick action, and so he can do another action in his turn, so he can push her back with melee attack, then move out of her range and throw a fireball at her or something. So taking the enemy position isn't always the best option. For melee attackers, in most situations it is, but not for each attacker. So what happens if there is no space where she can be pushed at? Let's bring Croxer back, because it's much more realistic that he will fight against her. Okay, let's pretend. Where's my furniture? Here. Let's pretend she's staying here. Here's a library. Here's a table. Crocs is standing here. Now he makes it an attack at her. Oh, it's very dark. So maybe you can brighten it up. I have to work out the lighting. I will do it in the next video. Alright, now there's no space to push her, but he can still push her against the wall, and that will make one more damage die that will be rolled in addition to the damage of the combat itself. This also applies if she's standing adjacent to any characters that are blocking. So if there is no space to oh, this isn't the best example because this is what I wanted to show. Even characters are taking the space and she cannot be pushed onto them as well. So there is no space in her back left to be pushed at, and so she will get an extra damage die if he decides to push her, what is the best option, I guess. Now let's rearrange the lighting. Alright, that was pushing, that was taking an enemy's position. And what happens if you roll a blunder? Let's remember, a blunder is snake eyes, double one. So if you're rolling a blunder while you are in combat, it's meaningless if you're the attacker or the defender. You will lose your weapon. It will fall down to the ground, and what is even worse, it may break. And this is the moment where we have a look at a weapons card for the first time. Here's a broadsword. I told you that Crocs is attacking with a broadsword for the moment. So on this card there's a break icon, a breaking X in this, is it? And here's a number 1, and maybe you have a weapon that will break with 1 or 2, or there are weapons that may even break with 1 to 5 or whatever. So you have to, the blunder itself says you have lost your weapon, or if you're wearing a weapon and a shield, then you have to choose randomly what you want to drop, what you not what you want to drop, what you will drop. You cannot decide. So it is lost for the moment. You will drop it to the ground. So and then you are unarmed. We have a look at that in a few seconds. But if when the weapon falls down to the ground, so, you have to roll another die. And let's see, this is a 6. Nothing would happen to the weapon, but if it is the broadsword with a breaking value of 1, the focus isn't working. So, and we would roll a 1. The weapon is broken and lost, so you cannot use it anymore. If the weapon is laying on the ground, you're counting as unarmed. The character who made the blunder is counting as unarmed. Unarmed, here's a special weapon card for you to show this. Means you have a -1 modifier for all your combat rolls, and you have the enemy gains more armor, but we have a look at armor and damage in the damage video. So for the moment you're counting as unarmed from that on, and your activation is over if you were the attacker, so you don't have a chance to take a quick action to draw a weapon, a new weapon. Maybe you have a dagger on your belt, and you say, oh, I lost my weapon, no problem, I'm going to draw the dagger, and because she will attack me in the next round. That won't work. In the moment you have dropped your weapon, you have rolled a blunder, your activation is over if you were the attacker, and then you cannot change your weapon. If you draw a weapon, by the way, within melee range of an enemy, you will have a -1 on all your combat rolls. And so you have a Croxer would have a 3 instead of a 4. as long as, and this is where the -1 from this card is also applying, if he's fighting unarmed without any weapon, he will also have a -1. And let's have a look at the weapon cards now in detail. You may have weapons that also give you a -1 for your combat value. So even if you're a great fighter with a 5 in combat, and you're using the simple axe, you will have a penalty for using it. Alright, this icon says it's a one-hand icon. There are weapons you have to use with both hands, like this battle axe. You need both hands, so you cannot equip a shield along with this weapon. With the battle axe, with this weapon, it will work. This is the armor value, which is reduced when using the armor. We have a look at the damage video, and this is the damage it will make. We also look at that in the damage video. This is the worth of the card, the weapon. You will have to pay when you want to buy this. This is the weight. Weight is always something you have to watch out for. Because your character cannot exceed his weight limit, or if he does, he will have penalties. This is the breaking we had to look at, and this is the range. If some weapons you can use for throwing, maybe a dagger can be used in melee, but it also can be thrown, and then you can see his range. Or if you're using a bow or a crossbow or a sling or something, we will see in the ranged combat video. So the weapon is away, and you can equip another one. You can draw another one, and then your next activation to get back into combat. If you are not having another one, or you want to have that weapon back again, you can use a quick action to grab your weapon from the ground again. But after that, you will also have a penalty of -1 if you are doing this. And if in the case you are curious what happens if Croxer is attacking her, she's losing her weapon, the weapon falls onto the ground. Let's say this is the weapon. Oops, now it's lying here. And now he's pushing her away from the square and taking the position. This is no problem. If you want to pick up a weapon from the ground, you can do it from the field you are standing on, from the square, or from an adjacent one. So you can recover it from here in the next activation. But, and this could be a problem when we are now combining some stuff, if you have multiple attacks, so if Crox is maybe fighting with both hands and he can do multiple 2 attacks around, he can push her, take her position, and then attack her again and push her another field. And then it would be a problem if the weapon was lying here, because she couldn't reach it anymore. Pushing is also a very, very great feature. To show this for a small demonstration, I'm improvising this for the moment, because I forgot to make this example in the preparation of the video. So let's say here's a door, it's open already, and in many, I'm not saying any, but in many other dungeon crawlers, it's always a good idea to put the your tank into the door, so no one can leave the room. Your wizard here is safe, your small goblin here is safe, and inside of the room there are many enemies, and they cannot leave the room because the big bad tank is blocking the door. But now with pushing, this can be a problem. If this guy, the white man over here, is winning, is hitting Croxer, and even he doesn't make any damage because Croxer has a very good armor. But if he just wins the combat roll, the opposing roll, then he can and he will decide, if he's playing with an ADP, he will push Croxer away taking his position, and then in the next activation, Whitey Whiteman, if he's still alive, can attack the wizard and the small goblin, or Croxer for sure, of course, but all of the other guys can leave the room because they just can move through, and then your party has a very big problem. This is you never may underestimate this situation. So if you're opening a door to a room, and you should always think twice about positioning your figures, and if it I don't want to repeat myself. You've seen it on your own, and this can be a real big problem. All right, let's clean up. Okay, we have talked about that. We can talk about cover. Here's our table again. For more details about cover, you please watch the video about line of sight, and let's say barbarian warriors here again. So the fight is over a corner, or maybe this is going into long range. She has cover because she's attacked over a corner where an obstacle is standing on, in this case a table, or also maybe this library. So she has cover. He can make the attack, this is not the problem, but he has a penalty of -1 depending less if this is light or heavy cover. There's no difference in this, you will always get a -1. So this is applies for columns that are going to the ceiling, or you have to small cover by this table, always a -1 for the attacker. If you're standing on an elevated position, maybe on staircases or on a table, oops, sorry Croxer, you are in advantage and you will get a +1 for attacking her to your combat attribute. Okay, that's it. Another important modifier. Oh, let's finish this feature with a demonstration that this will also work with corners. Hope you can see it. Here's a wall, and there's the corner is giving her cover, and there will be also a -1. Or this is also applying if she's standing here, she's here through the door. There will also be a -1 for the attacker. Okay, that was this. Another important thing I wanted to tell is attacking from behind. Once again, I did this very often. This is the front side of the standee. This is the back side with the model number on it. So she is watching TV in this library or whatever. There's Croxer stepping next to her from behind, and now he's attacking her from behind, so he will get another +1 for his attacks, for his combat value. But this will only work if he started his movement from a position that was in her back. To remember, these are her back squares. The other one around are her front. And if he's starting over here, and now she has a line of sight to him, but now he decides to walk past her. 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe. Now he's attacking from behind, but because he was activating in her front, this is not counted as attacking from behind. And this is a thing. Let's say she's looking over here, fighting against these guys. So one of them can always attack her from behind, you may think, but she can change her facing when she's activating. And this you have to remember, that changing the facing isn't counted as movement, and the attacker may choose who to fight, and so it isn't guaranteed that if you're coming from behind, staying behind her, that you can attack her from behind in your next activation, because she just could change around to you. Alright, this is it. And I guess one of the last things is attacking a stationary target. Stationary targets can be can happen if the other one is affected by a spell that is immobilizing him. Let's pretend she is immobilized. If he is attacking her, he will gain. Her armor is reduced by 1. We have a look at that in the damage video. I'm repeating myself. And this won't apply to maybe armored chests or chests in general, because they're always locked. You have to break them. Or doors that are locked, you have to attack to break them. And you don't have to roll for that. If a target is stationary, you don't have to make a roll, so you can't have a blunder in this. That's what is great. So you just have to say, I'm going to attack this, and then you will roll for damage, but you don't have to make an attack roll. And also, like I said, if you are attacking a character that is stationary, that character will get an armor -1. This won't apply to doors and chests and whatever can also be attacked, and this is not a character. Okay, I have left out completely the part about fighting against flying targets, because this happens so often. This will happen to you, yes, but I leave it out for the moment. Just look into the rulebook. And I've also lost out the part about shields, because I think I'll make a short video about that is dedicated to shields, because shields are one of my favorite rules that would really benefit from a really good reference rulebook for Dungeon Universalis, because shields are completely, I tried to show it, spread it in the rulebook. So here's a chapter about melee combat, and here's a point shielding. Here's nothing about shield itself, how to block, but here's a block about shielding, and here's the damage and condition chapter, and here you can find how to use your shield. So it's spread all over. You have different rules for shields when you are going to be attacked by ranged attack. You have different rules if this is a magic attack with magic projectiles. There are different rules if you are in melee combat, and so you can talk about that in every chapter, or you can talk about it in a whole. And I will do this. I will make a video about how to use shields and the options you have, and the situations when you can't use a shield. So you can't use a shield. For giving one example, if you are attacking a guy with a shield from behind, he cannot use his shield. And just to give one example, and we have all those situations. I hope I won't miss a thing, and in a dedicated video. And now this video is over. Thanks again for your patience, for your attention, and I hope you will come back later for the ranged video about ranged attacks. And yes, have a great day. Bye.